السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا ليستأذنكم الذين ملكت أيمانكم والذين لم يبلغوا الحلم منكم 3 مرات من قبل صلاة الفجر وحين تضعون ثيابكم من الظهيرة ومن بعد صلاة العشاء 3 عورات لكم ليس عليكم ولا عليهم جناح بعدهن طوافون عليكم بعضكم على بعض كذلك يبين الله لكم الآيات والله عليم حكيم. وإذا بلغ الأطفال منكم الحلم فليستأذنوا كما استأذن الذين من قبلهم كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته والله عليم حكيم. والقواعد من النساء اللاتي لا يرجون نكاحا فليس عليهن جناح أن يضعن ثيابهن غير متبرجات بزينة وأن يستعففن خير لهن والله سميع عليم. صدق الله العظيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا ليستأذنكم الذين ملكت أيمانكم. O you who believe, the slaves owned by you and those of you who have not reached the age of puberty must seek permission 3 times. In these ayahs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us rulings regarding some adab of seeking permission, especially for people living within the house. When people are living in the same house, and of course there are some married couples, there are children, there are other people, there are people who do the work in the house. So they go through 2 different situations. One is at the time of entering the house. At the time for them, when any man wants to enter the house, it is adab and respect and a teaching of the Sharia that he should take permission. And seeking permission in this case means at the time of entering the house should make some type of noise, either saying salam loudly or ringing the bell and then going in. You don't have to wait for someone to open the door if you know the door is open or if you have the key, but ring the bell and then open the door so that other women in the house, they get ready to receive someone and they know that now someone else will be around them. Even if you have only maharim in the house. The only people that are in the house are your maharim. But still, the person should try to let them know, inform them of his coming in so that they are ready for it. The second part of it is when people are inside the house, then of course there will be rooms for different people in the house. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these ayahs is giving us the instructions about entering other people's rooms. That when you are entering those rooms, you should seek permission to enter that room 3 times of a day. First thing, let's look at the timings mentioned in this ayah, and then we'll talk about why these times and what the seeking permission means during these times. من قبل صلاة الفجر, before the prayer of Fajr, وحين تضعون ثيابكم من الظهيرة, and when you take off your clothes at noon, ومن بعد صلاة العشاء, and after صلاة العشاء. ثلاث عورات لكم, these three times are of privacy for you. ليس عليكم ولا عليهم جناح بعدهن, there is no harm neither on you nor to them after these three times to enter into that room. طوافون عليكم بعضكم على بعض, and that is because they are your frequent visitors, as some of you are of others. بعضكم على بعض, you are from each other. كذلك يبين الله لكم الآيات والله عليم حكيم. This is how Allah explains the verses to you, and Allah is all-knowing, all-wise. So we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the people, لِيَسْتَأْذِنْكُمُ الَّذِينَ مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ لَمْ يَبْلُغُوا الْحُلُمَ مِنْكُمْ ثَلَاثَ مَرَّاتٍ, that the slaves that you have at your home and young children, this order is specifically for them that they should ask permission in these three timings. Which means train everyone in the house, even the children, when they enter the room of their parents, their married brothers and sisters, anyone else that is married in the house, they should seek permission before entering in these three times. These three times are specified in the ayah because these were the normal times of resting in those days. When people would rest, when people would sleep. And when people are sleeping, then they don't expect anyone to just open the door and enter into their room all of a sudden. This same rule will apply if in our culture there are some other timings when people normally would rest and they have their free time in their room. Generally speaking, if the door is closed, we need to get a permission. Now depends on what time it is. At some times you may be able to just knock at the door and enter, because normally at that time people don't have the time of privacy and you can just enter the room as long as you knock at the door. But at other times, even if the door is not locked, that doesn't have lock, or someone forgets to lock, you need to knock at the door and you are not allowed to enter until you get the permission to go in. So during the time when we know that this is the time of their privacy, then a person should not enter the room until he gets the permission. But in a normal situation, when someone knows that, during this time, even if the door is closed, just maybe that the mother is just resting and you knock at the door, you don't want her to get up and have to come and open the door for you. You knock at the door and you enter. So depends on the situation of the house and the culture, the system that we have. But the main point is that do not disturb others at their times of privacy. And do not enter all of a sudden in those rooms. Many times we feel that, we are very close and I can do this and we can just go inside. That is not good. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us these adab for our own benefit. And many times, elders or others, brothers and sisters, maybe youngsters, they get disturbed by us violating these rules, but they may not be able to say anything. And we are putting them in that difficult situation only because we did not follow the adab of the Sharia. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ثَلَاثَ عَوْرَاتٍ لَكُمْ, these three times are of privacy for you. And that is of course according to the time. So whenever would be the time when people know that this is the time for privacy and we should not be disturbing people at this time, at that time we should not just enter without having a permission to enter. وَإِذَا بَلَغَ الْأَطْفَالُ مِنْكُمُ الْحُلُمَ فَلْيَسْتَأْذِنُوا كَمَا اسْتَأْذَنَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. And when children from you they get to the age of puberty, they must seek permission, as permission is sought by those before them. Which means now, as children have grown up, then they should ask for permission the way adults ask for permission. Right now, in this ayah, the order was taking the permission for children and for slaves, that even if they are doing the work day and night there, but still at the time of privacy they need to ask for permission and enter only when they're allowed to enter. But adults in the house, they should always ask for permission, and they should know that when are the timings when we are allowed to enter or wait for the permission. وَإِذَا بَلَغَ الْأَطْفَالُ مِنْكُمُ الْحُلُمِ, when your children get to the age of puberty, then they should seek permission, as permission is sought by those before them. كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ آيَاتِهِ. This is how Allah explains His verses and His ayahs to you. وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ حَكِيمٌ, and Allah is all-knowing, all-wise. After mentioning this adab of seeking the permission at the time of entering into the rooms of each other for people living in the same house, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning some special rule about elderly women. وَالْقَوَاعِدُ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ اللَّاتِي لَا يَرْجُونَ نِكَاحًا فَلَيْسَ عَلَيْهِنَّ جُنَاحٌ أَن يَضَعْنَ ثِيَابَهُنَّ غَيْرَ مُتَبَرِّجَاتٍ بِزِينَةٍ. Those old women who have no hope for marriage, فَلَيْسَ عَلَيْهِنَّ جُنَاحٌ أَن يَضَعْنَ ثِيَابَهُنَّ. There is no harm on them if they take off their outer garment غَيْرَ مُتَبَرِّجَاتٍ بِزِينَةٍ, as long as they do not display their beauty. وَإِنْ يَسْتَعْفِفْنَ خَيْرٌ لَهُنَّ. If they refrain from this also, it is better for them. وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. The ruling mentioned in this ayah is that those women who are very old, and now they are at the age where normally they will not get married. We have to understand this ruling of when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا يرجون نكاحا. Sometimes a woman considers herself young in normal situations, old at a time when it comes to the ruling of hijab. So she has to decide if she is really young or she is old. And if she's old, then at all times let people call her older woman, and she should not mind that if everyone starts calling her grandma. And normal men of normal age will call her grandma, and she won't mind it. That means, okay, she really accepted herself to be old. But this is only one side of it now. The other side of it is that if other people also consider her to be a very old woman, it's not that she only says I'm old, but even other people, normal people, will say that yes, she is very old now. لا يرجون نكاحا. Normally women at this age, they don't get married. Being in this society, we have to understand that, of course, it simply means men will have no interest of women of that age. This is what la yarjuna nikahan means. That men will not have any interest of women in that age. So, what would be that age? What would be that situation? These are two restrictions that are mentioned in the ayah. قَوَاعِدُ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. She is very old, and she is just sitting home. She can't go here and there because she is old. And لَا يَرْجُونَ نِكَاحًا. There is no hope of marriage. She doesn't hope, and normally in that society, other men will not have any hope in her because women of that age, no one is interested in marrying them. The third condition, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, غَيْرَ مُتَبَرِّجَاتٍ بِزِينَةٍ. As long as they don't show their beauty. Sometimes you see women in her 70s and so much makeup, that even young girls never use this much in their lives. So now, this is mutabarrijatin bizina. She is showing off her beauty. So if these three conditions are met, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, then فَلَيْسَ عَلَيْهِنَّ جُنَاحٌ أَن يَضَعْنَ ثِيَابَهُنْ. They are allowed, there is no sin on them if they do not cover their bodies properly, which refers to that their face, their hands are exposed to other men. On the basis of this ayah, or first thing, let's quickly revise the order that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the ayah. The order mentioned in the ayah, elderly woman who is very old, qawa'id. The word qawa'id is used, which means the one who just stays at one place then. And there is no hope for her marriage, not because she doesn't hope to get married, because it depends on the culture. Sometimes in some of the cultures, women in their 20s, 30s, they get widows, no one would marry them. But if she walks out, yes, there is interest for haram wal-iyāzu billah. So, لَا يَرْجُونَ نِكَاحًا, which means there is no interest from other men for this woman. And the third thing is that she don't show off her beauty. If she stays in normal situation, she doesn't try to show off her beauty, then if she does not cover her face and does not cover her hands, does not cover her feet, which means she comes out in public, she doesn't have the upper garment to cover the beauty of her clothing and to cover her face, it's allowed for her to be in that situation. Although the next portion of the ayah says, وَيَسْتَعْفِفْنَ خَيْرٌ لَهُنْ. If they refrain from doing this, it would be better for them. But as far as the rule is concerned, yes, they're allowed to show their face and to walk out without, we can say, without having a sheet or abaya or something to cover their outer garment. Looking at this order, Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah said that the purpose of hijab is fitna. When there is no fear of fitna, then there is no order of hijab. The order of hijab is based on the fitna. Many people took that ruling as if he's saying that a woman does not have to wear hijab if there is no fear of fitna, which means people getting attracted to her. And using that rule, then many women will, or many people would say, there is no fear of fitna because every woman is walking without hijab, so if other women walk without hijab, what's wrong with that? There is no fear of fitna anymore because other women are not even having this much. They're not even covering their hair, their legs, or anything like this. This is not what Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah said. What he's saying is, on the basis of this ayah, that the purpose of hijab in Sharia is fitna. When at that age, that fitna is gone, Sharia has allowed the elderly women not to have the hijab. This is what he's saying. That when that age comes, and basically he based it on the rule that when the girl is very young, there is no rule of hijab for her in Islam. When now this ayah tells us when she's very old, the rule of hijab is gone again. So, from that, of course, we all can understand that the rule of hijab is not because of being women, it's because of that fitna. But Sharia also told us that fitna is there from the age of puberty until she gets to that age, there is fitna. Before and after that, there is no fitna. So he's only explaining the details of the rulings or the purpose of the ruling that is behind the scene that we cannot normally see. So he's explaining that rule, that the reason of hijab, for women to have hijab from this age to this age, is because of fitna. He's not saying that if you think there is no fitna, you take it off. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن يَسْتَعْفِفْنَ خَيْرٌ لَهُنْ. If they refrain from doing this, it is better for them. وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Allah is all hearing, all knowing. as the rulings are being mentioned about house or hijab inside the house, permission for entering the room, and now for elderly women who would be just normally sitting at home. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning another rule in the next ayah, and that rule is about if someone allows us to enter and to go to their homes, and he says, because of our situation, someone feels bad for us, that the person is very poor, my relative doesn't have enough. Okay, whenever you want, you come to my house and eat whatever you want from my house. This is the kitchen, this is this, and you open the house, and you come in and you eat whatever you want. In those days, during the time of Sahaba Ridwanullahi Alayhim Ajma'een, as we normally see in the hadith, they were very helpful to the needy people in the society. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alayhi Wasallam's instruction was that if a person knocks at your door, he should not go out empty-handed. In one of the hadiths, Sallam radiyallahu anha says, someone gave us some meat as a gift. And I thought, since Rasulullah Sallallahu Alayhi Wasallam loves meat, and we didn't get chance to eat meat for a long time, so I saved it for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alayhi Wasallam. I put it on a shelf in the house. A person came, knocked at the door, and he asked, do you have anything to give for the sake of Allah? He was a poor person asking for food. She says, Barakallahu feekum. May Allah give you barakah. That was a way of saying that at this time I don't want to give anything. Not necessarily doesn't mean I don't have, but Barakallah, may Allah bless you. Which means I won't give you anything at this time. And the person went. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alayhi Wasallam came home. Sallam radiyallahu anha says, I tried to present that meat to Prophet Sallallahu Alayhi Wasallam. When I looked at it, it was a piece of rock. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alayhi Wasallam said, what is this, Sallam? I said, Ya Rasulullah, it was meat. I swear by God, it was the meat. I put it up there for you. So he asked, did any person came to ask for food and you rejected the person? Yes, Ya Rasulullah. A person knocked at the door. I said, Barakallahu feekum. May Allah give you barakah. I didn't give him the meat. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alayhi Wasallam said, that is the reason. Allah will not allow me to eat something that was rejected from giving to a needy person. So this was the teaching of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alayhi Wasallam and the instructions of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alayhi Wasallam on helping the needy people. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala tells him in the Quran, وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. And then in these ayahs, وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. When a person comes to ask you for something, never reject the person. Don't reject the beggar. A person who would ask for anything, don't reject. This was the instruction given by Rabbul Alameen to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alayhi Wasallam. So this was the society of those times. This is how Rasulullah Sallallahu Alayhi Wasallam taught the Sahaba Ridwanullahi Alayhim Ajma'een the adab and the way of dealing with others and taking care of others. So Sahaba Ridwanullahi Alayhim Ajma'een, they used to look for needy people, especially someone is blind, someone is sick, or any of their relatives that is in need. They have a friend that they know that he's not that well-to-do, so he needs some help. So they used to tell those people, you can come into my house and eat any time. And then even when they would leave the town, when they are not in the house, that person would be allowed to go and enter the house, go into the house and eat whatever he feels like eating, go into the garden and eat, go into the farm and eat. But these people used to be shy of going there all the time. And especially when the owner is not there, when the host is not there, they would not go into the house. It so happened during that time that once a Sahabi was going out for jihad. So he said to another Sahabi who was in need, and this Sahabi used to support the other Sahabi all the time. So when he was leaving, he said to him, you know, my house, there is a lot of food in the house, make sure you go there and eat every day. When he came back, and he went to meet that Sahabi, his friend, he saw that his situation was very bad. His health was very down. He did not have food for some time, for a long time. So he said to him, how come you didn't go to my home and eat? He said, no, I didn't feel like going, and especially you are not there. I wouldn't go there without a permission. All of the ayahs that are about permission, because Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in were very careful about the ahkam of the Sharia. So, that he did not want to enter the house. And he is not there. Although he told me, but I don't feel like entering. When he's there, I seek the permission and I go in. That's different. And at that time, this ayah was revealed. The next ayah, لَيْسَ عَلَى الْأَعْمَى حَرَجٍ. There is no blame on a blind person. وَلَا عَلَى الْأَعْرَجِ حَرَجٍ. Nor there any blame on a lame one. وَلَا عَلَى الْمَرِيضِ حَرَجٍ. Nor for one struck with illness. وَلَا عَلَى أَنفُسِكُمْ. Nor for your souls. Whenever who has a permission, أَن تَأْكُلُوا مِن بُيُوتِكُمْ. If you eat from your own houses. أَوْ بُيُوتِ آبَائِكُمْ. Or houses of your fathers. أَوْ بُيُوتِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ. Or houses of your mothers. أَوْ بُيُوتِ إِخْوَانِكُمْ. Or houses of your brothers. أَوْ بُيُوتِ أَخَوَاتِكُمْ. Or houses of your sisters. أَوْ بُيُوتِ أَعْمَامِكُمْ. Or houses of your father's brothers. أَوْ بُيُوتِ عَمَّاتِكُمْ. Or houses of your father's sisters. أَوْ بُيُوتِ أَخْوَالِكُمْ. Or houses of your mother's brothers. أَوْ بُيُوتِ خَالَاتِكُمْ. Or houses of your mother's sisters. Mentioned generally the relatives that people stay around. And mentioned especially father's sister, mother's sister, our own sister, because normally we people feel ashamed of going to the sister's house. Brother, he says, you know, this is my brother. But sister, you know, she's dependent on her husband and I don't want to go into her house. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, even if it is from that type of relationship and you have a permission, there is nothing wrong in going there and eating from that house if you have the permission. Which means you don't need a permission at the time of entering the house. You don't need to knock at the door and someone has to tell you to come in before you can go in. If no one is there, they have allowed you to go in the house without them being there. Go ahead, you're allowed to go there. Or if they told you that come and eat any time or every day come and eat with us, so a person goes over there, he knocks at the door and he says, you know, I'm here for lunch, for dinner, for if you have anything to eat. There is nothing, no harm. This is not considered begging. This is just a help they're offering and you're accepting their help. So there is nothing wrong in going to these houses and eating. Then the ayah continues, أَوْ مَا مَلَكْتُمْ مَفَاتِحَهُ. Or from the houses that you possess the keys for. There are houses that you have the person gave you the key to the house. This is my house, you can come and stay here for as long as you want, whenever you want. This is the key to my house. You have the right to come and eat from my house whenever you want. Normally in the morning time, daytime, no one is in the house. We all go out to work and you come and eat whatever you want. If someone has allowed a person to come in and given the person the keys to come in, there is nothing wrong. أَوْ مَا مَلَكْتُمْ مَفَاتِحَهُ أَوْ صَدِيقِكُمْ. Or from the homes of your friends. And this means the friends that have allowed you to go into their houses. Friends that gave you the permission is not that the person comes into the house to find out the fridge is empty. What happened? Who ate it? He doesn't know. And later on, after 2 days, he finds out, oh, we came to your house and we were so hungry, we had a party. But the poor guy, when he came home, he didn't find anything to eat. So, houses of those friends who have allowed us to go into their houses. As I said, in those days, this was very normal. Nowadays, this is not that normal. In fact, people really wouldn't mind it if you go and eat from their house. And if a person, even if he would tell you, come and eat with us, if you go to him 3 days continuously, 4th day he may tell you, we are busy. So we are not used to feeding people. We feel that it's going out of my food, my wealth, and I'm losing if we feed others. In this situation, we need a real permission. If a person really wholeheartedly is giving us a permission, then we are allowed to eat. We have to keep in mind, especially with situations like bachelors, the people who are by themselves and they visit each other's homes, that they go into each other's rooms, and they go into the house and start eating everything, look for things hidden here and there and eat them up. That is not a permission. If a person is